Good morning, everyone. Today is Tuesday, September the 18th. This is the Futures in 5. We're looking at the result of some steep tariffs taking hold of tech particularly. But let's take a look at the profiles today. We are taking a look at the ES here. This is our chart in view, and we can see I've put the profiles on here for us to have a look. We've got a thin volume pocket here that we're filling in right now. We have a thin volume pocket here that had quite a bit of work done there, and so the rejection here was pretty likely. I did talk about the level near 2891 giving us a good edge of the downward motion that could reverse. Those that are part of the blog, we had that as our target to really start watching price shift from there. And it's done exactly that, still dancing around in this space. Doesn't look particularly good, as it were, but holding 2895 will be very, very important. And that's the number and region right around here where you can see my cursor moving. That should be our support zone. If it doesn't, we're going to have another fade action, and we've got a ton of acceptance, price acceptance way down here at the bottom. So we'll have to watch for that. Up above the 2904 region, buyers will become a little bit more enthusiastic trying to hit the volume profile areas right there. We'll see how that goes. All right, in the meantime, we'll trade like this looks, very congested. The NQ, however, does not look as congested in terms of the breakdown. We are really at the bottom of these edges here, and that is really, we should be bouncing from this space. The question is, we've spent almost 6 months buying these big pullback events, right? We see the deep dips. This came well into support areas and then even below that into price rejection areas of 3 weeks prior, because these are weekly profiles we're building here. We can see a thin volume event here. We've got a thin volume event here. We had very thin volume that sort of spent a lot of time in this region. So, it's any man's game. If we take a look at the very big picture, weeks in the motion, we can see that there are low volume profile pockets all the way down to 7,000. Does that mean that's where we'll go? Potentially. I don't know. What I do know today is that right around here, I should be building bullish pressure. If I don't, there's a problem and I will head lower. I've got to make that decision as it comes into that space. I'm fairly sure that if we start losing 74.58, we'll head down here into the 74.23 area and then attempt another bounce, because we did that for this prior week and the week that we just left. And so we should anticipate that we do it again. If we don't, we've got ourselves a pretty big fade to the downside. All right, taking a look at our YM. This one's doing really fairly well. It's sitting above the majority of motion. It certainly doesn't look like the others. It's really been outperforming the ES and really definitely the NQ. And we are sitting above these spaces, holding in price acceptance areas. This is thin volume. This is another very clean pocket of motion. So I suspect our pullbacks are going to find buyers. Could we have a deep move like we did yesterday? My final call yesterday in the blog for the price action event, not my final call, the first major target call that we had here is 25,996. It slipped to 25,991, but then began to hold. So it is not showing weakness events that we can see in other charts. It's still holding the space. So all these tariffs have come in, and yet the price action for the chart that seems to end up being most sensitive overall is not underperforming. So we've got to think about that from a big picture perspective and realize that we really do still have bullish action here, and they're looking at other things that this chart can do. On top of that, we've got the bond yields really falling off a cliff in the general space, and so they're going to have to put their money someplace, and so equities look like a nice shot, and certainly the ones that have these upward moving averages across the board are going to be ones that they go to. So that's it. Pullbacks, buy zones, 26,180. 118 is a nice clean support edge. Here we are taking a look at oil. Oil is very range bound. 3 weeks of motion with profiles that look very similar. Big pockets on the bottoms, thin pocket profile in the center, another big pocket on the top. This is essentially the same sort of thing, and we're running through that. We've got the API today after the close, the EIA tomorrow, and we still are essentially range bound between 68 and 70. What does this chart tell me? Well, it tells me essentially I should see sellers here, I should see buyers here, and when I don't, I'm going to move into the edges of either the resistance that's been shown prior or the support that's been shown prior, where I'm going to reverse again. That's what a flat moving average does for us, and we'll have to pay attention to that as well. Lastly, taking a look at gold. Gold bugs trying to move in to the space, still lifting the bottom. We still have our higher lows in general. We held early morning, we held this 1200 marker, and now we're back up here. My thought is the following though. See this moving average? Flat. We've got rejection way up above us, rejection way down below us. So we're going to move right back into the acceptance zone that's building in this thin volume pocket. And so we are looking at ranges on the upper edge between 1208, on the lower edge between 1201. And that's what we'll see today. All right. Good luck trading. This has been the Futures in 5.